sounds and plugins here. Then we have something called Open Project Plugin Picker. Then we have Tempo Tapper. And then you have Touch Controller. So the two last buttons here, I'm just going to cover this really quickly because I won't cover this later on in this course. But a tempo tapper is basically when you want to find a tempo, and you just tap this here, and this will detect the tempo of your tapping basically. And I'm used to produce with a tempo around 128 BPM, so it may be why this tempo is here. Then we have next one, touch control and touch controller here. Then we have the next one here, touch controller. This is like a MIDI keyboard, but with these touchpads here instead. You can also see the tonality of all of these touchpads here as well. And here is launch content library. So if I click on it here, that will load up a browser with Image Line's website, where we can find their own content library that we can download. Then you have online content and events, so you can find different news about FL Studio here. Then we have next section, so patterns. You can load up different patterns that you're going to create. So the patterns are basically just like clips that you can just browse out like that. And here we have the pattern selector, so you can select the different patterns that you're working with. And with patterns, if I click something on the arrangement here, let's say that I want some MIDI data from 5 here, let's say. I just click it like that. I can resize it and I can delete it by just right click my mouse. So I left click to create it and right click to delete it. And that is basically how you do everything in FL Studio. So if you're creating the MIDI data in piano roll, for instance, you click the left to create a MIDI, let's say a MIDI section or a MIDI data, and then you right click to just get rid of it. So let's say that this is just the first pattern. So as you can see, if I click here and there, or let's say that I click as much as I want, all of this is going to be linked to pattern 1. So pattern 1, let's get rid of all of these here. Pattern 1 is just because we have selected pattern 1 in the pattern selector. So what patterns is that they contain some MIDI data, or sometimes even audio as well. So let's say that we have a pattern 1 here, and we have that selected here. I can go to the piano roll. Now I can write out something. Let's say I have it like that. So now we have the pattern 1 here. So as soon as I click somewhere, I get the same pattern because we have the pattern 1 selected. But let's say that we want to create some other kind of, let's say, kick rhythm here, because I have it created like the pattern 1 here. So if I just go to pattern 2, so I go up or press just plus, I can also create the name there, or I can go here and I can find next empty, for instance, so like that. So now that is the pattern 3. So now I can go to the piano roll. I can write out something else. Let's say I want that kind of pattern for the pattern 3. So now if I click here, you will have the pattern 3 with the same data that we created in the pattern 3 that we're going to discuss later on when we're creating our track. Maybe it doesn't make sense for you right now, and that is totally fine. Maybe you're just out there thinking, what is this guy talking about? And I will tell you everything you need to know about patterns when we're creating music, because that is going to be the easiest way to explain how these patterns work. It's good to know for you that you have this pattern system introduced. I have these buttons here, as you can see: undo, open new audio editor, like that. One-click audio recording, you can get more help. You can save as new version, so save as. Then you have render as audio file. And then you have view project info. I see all of these buttons here as shortcuts. And I don't think you will use them that often. I don't do that. So yeah, but it's good to know that they are there. And if you want to, let's say, render as an audio file, and then you have that shortcut here. So that is actually really nice to have. Then we have the song position. So you can see the song position, or you can see minutes, seconds, like that. And then you have bars like this. Then we have the monitor, so you can see all of the audio that is outputted. You can also click on it to get different wave spectrum. And you have the peak meter here as well. Then we have the CPU load, so you can see how much your computer is actually working when you're creating or working with your project. Then you have the memory usage, so this will show all of the RAM or RAM memory that FL Studio is using right now. CPU load history, so you can actually see where or when the spikes of the CPU or the processor in your computer is happening. Then you have the amount of voices being processed there as well, and CPU panel. And then we have some more buttons here. So typing keyboard to piano keyboard that I explained before. They have scrolls to reach time markers, step editing mode, enable notes. You have multi-link to controllers, so you can actually control different stuff that is happening to a MIDI controller. Then we have the metronome, wait for input to start playing, countdown before recording, blend recording, and loop recording. So all of these functions here are pretty self-explanatory, but I will still use some of them in this course, and I will use the functions that I think are really the most necessary to feel comfortable using when you're creating music. That is a brief overview of the interface in FL Studio. Let's see you in the next lecture.